What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where every single week I, Graham G. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. Today we're talking episode 9 of season 9 of Total Divas, entitled Hawaiian Punch. So this was the penultimate episode before the season 9 finale for Total Divas, wrapping up next Tuesday, kind of tying up all the loose ends with Sonia and Ariana and Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey and everything else going on right now. Not to say this episode wasn't newsworthy. So last week was the big WrestleMania episode, and I thought that would be the season finale. Obviously not, and I'm glad it wasn't. That feels too predictable. This was the fallout from WrestleMania with all the girls, or some of the cast members anyway, going on vacation to Hawaii to celebrate their accomplishments, and the Bella Twins making a rare appearance as well. They've been in some episodes of the show recently, kind of talking about a potential tag team title run, which they do address on this episode, but we really haven't seen a lot of them on the show just because they have total Bellas going on and they're not really involved in the WWE bubble anymore, so I get it. But anyway, before we go any further, if you haven't already, be sure to check out my review of WWE 24, the Trish Stratus episode. My review went up on Sunday, or rather Monday. The special aired on Sunday. So check it out, about 45 minutes in length. My review might be around 30 minutes, I want to say. But it was a really good 24 special, so check it out if you haven't already. But anyway, so this episode kicks off with Ronda Rousey revealing that she broke her hand in the WrestleMania match. That was the note that we ended on for the last episode of Total Divas 2 weeks ago, because there was not a new episode last week due to the Thanksgiving holiday. She reveals that she broke her hand while punching, I think, the ribs of Becky Lynch during that triple threat match at WrestleMania, but she obviously persevered and continued on anyway, as any performer would, which was cool. So props to her for that. She said that you can't really tell watching it back. She's seen the match back a few times. You can't really tell that she was fighting through the pain. You can't really tell that she broke her hand. I mean, she was holding her hand afterward, but you would think that she was just selling the injuries of the match that she endured throughout the match. But she calls the match exactly what it needed to be and so much more. And as soon as the match is over, we don't see Becky or Charlotte. We see the women celebrating with Rousey. And that, when I say the women, I'm talking about the cast of Total Divas. And they're specifically the Riot Squad. They actually carry her to the back, which is kind of cool. But she goes up to Travis and she kisses him and she celebrates with his family. And it's a really nice feel-good moment. We hear from Nia Jax, and this was the only time I think we've heard from her on this entire episode. I don't think we see her after this until next week's season finale when we get an update on her surgeries. She goes, "It's been the hardest year of my career, and she's going to miss everybody and being on the road, but it's going to be the best thing for me, and I'll be back better than ever in no time." And as of this recording, she's still not back, and that was 8 months ago. And I mean, I kind of expected that. She got two ACL injuries, I think, two ACL surgeries. And Sami Zayn was out for like 10 months, and that was two different, surgeries. That was with the shoulders. And I think the knee surgeries might be even more extensive. So she might not be back until at least the Women's Rumble next month. If she's not back by then she's definitely something is wrong. But anyway, so that's normal that she's not back by now. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so we see Nattie meeting with the rest of her family after WrestleMania in New York to talk about spreading Jim Neidhart's ashes. And they can't really agree on where they want them spread and if they really want them spread at all. I mean, there's a lot of the ashes, but some of the sisters are saying like, we probably shouldn't be spreading them here, or we should be keeping them in the jar, whatever. Can we keep some? So eventually they agree on where to spread some ashes around a tree in New York City. It's a very emotional moment, as, it's spreading the ashes of a loved one. Of course, it's going to be emotional and you'll be crying and stuff like that, but it's a nice moment of finality, in a sense, for the family of Jim Neidhart's passing. Meanwhile, Ronda Rousey and Travis, right after WrestleMania, they're back in Las Vegas for a friend of Travis's wedding. He's getting married, and I guess Travis is he's not the pastor, but he's like, we see at the end of the episode, he's like speaking during the wedding. So he plays a pretty important role in the wedding. And Ronda's like, hey, while we're here, let's start in the baby-making process. I want to get pregnant, so let's start that process here. Meanwhile, we see the Bellas who want to surprise the girls in Hawaii. They get there before anyone else. And they were supposed to go, they had to pull out, but then that thing got canceled or whatever it was, so they can go after all, but they wanted to surprise the girls, so they don't tell them that they're coming. And based off their reactions later on, it seems like they were genuine, and this was something that wasn't planned, which is cool. So as part of the wedding thing with Travis and Rousey, Travis's friend, they have an issue with the hot air balloon that they wanted to do. It's like a weather condition thing. So Travis bends over backwards to make it up to his friend, calling all these helicopter companies to do something else with a helicopter instead, because the hot air balloon idea fell through, and he's really working hard to get that thing done. But Rousey's like, hey, because the guy's a saint, that's awesome. But at the same time, I really kind of want him to focus on me too. So hopefully he's not going to make this entire little getaway to Las Vegas all about just the wedding, which it is, but she also wants to spend some very, some nice quality time with Travis as well. So that can be understood. Also, so we see the Bellas discussing the Carmella situation before they get to Hawaii, or while they're in Hawaii, they're out to eat or whatever. Because Carmella, remember, has not seen Nikki Bella since the whole thing with Nia Jax happened at the beginning of the season. When Nia was like, oh, Carmella, she didn't like working with you, Nikki. She was such a bitch, blah, blah, blah. And the Bellas knew that she had some, injury issues and that she was kind of speaking out of her ass and not really from her mind or heart or whatever. But they're not entirely sure whether she was telling the truth or not because they are close with Nia. So they're like, hey, listen, if anything comes of it, whatever. If she really thinks that, then fuck her. If not, and I don't think she does, then, whatever. So they're going to settle that hopefully when they get to Hawaii. So we see Nattie arrive in Hawaii alongside Carmella, Liv Morgan, Sonia, and her girlfriend Ariana, who no one knew was coming. So they all kind of feel awkward about that because this was supposed to be a girls' trip, about the WrestleMania and, celebrating their accomplishments. And if they were going to bring their significant others, then they would have done that, but they didn't because it's supposed to be a girls' trip. So the Bellas surprised the girls. They all seem genuinely surprised, which made for a very cool moment. Carmella feels awkward being around the Bellas after what happened, many months ago with Nia Jax and her. And Nikki, so she doesn't really know how to address that. She can't really fully enjoy herself without clearing that air with Nikki first, which we'll get to later on. So Ariana confronts Sonia, and she's like, listen, you really should have told them that I was coming, because I feel really awkward. I do not feel welcome here. So get your shit together next time. Let them know that I'm coming. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone. You know what I mean? It's not like a big fight between the two, but she is a little frustrated that no one knew that she was coming because she feels unwelcome. Travis, while they're out to eat, he and Ronda, he gets a phone call from his friend who's, kind of, again, working with Travis to get this thing done, and Ronda doesn't really appreciate that. She's kind of pissed that he's on his phone all the time. And again, it's out of the kindness of his heart that he's doing this, but he also, again, really wants her to focus on her. He really wants him to focus on her and not be so generous and nice and try to make up for the hot air balloon idea falling through, He really wants her, or she really wants him rather, to be less nice and be more selfish and focus on themselves while they're away in Las Vegas. So Carmella talks it out with the other girls about the Nikki situation. And she goes, listen, I just want Nikki to know what happened. And that I have no ill will towards her and that I loved her feud, that I really enjoy working with her. I think very highly of her as a person. I just really want to clear the air once and for all. And she does do that soon enough. While they're out of the pool, though, Nikki reveals that they almost came back the Tuesday after WrestleMania. She reveals this to the rest of the girls, that they were going to come back to chase the tag titles, which would have made sense. I guess that would happen on the SmackDown, which was still on Tuesday at that point. It was still on Tuesdays back then, after Mania. So they would have come back on the SmackDown after Mania, which sucked. The show was no good. So that would have made sense. And I think the Iconics faced a pair of losers on that show instead. So really, it would have made perfect sense for the Bellas to come back and chase the tag titles. Not to say the show would have been much better off with them on it, but it would have helped. It would have been a nice surprise. But she does reveal that, Nikki does, that she went to the doctors and they found out that she had a cyst on her brain. And it's not like cancerous or anything. She's fine. But at the same time, though, she's like, they advised that I don't come back. So that was kind of it. That I kind of just retire from the ring. And that was why that idea fell through. And I can't say a Bella's Iconics feud would have really lit the world on fire for me. It would have been cool to see them back and chase the tag titles. It would have been better than what we ended up getting, which was nothing with the Iconics, but I can't say I'm exactly bummed that it didn't happen, but that's just me personally. So finally, Nikki and Carmella clear the air. All is well between the two. Carmella explains her side of the story. Nikki tells Carmella that, hey, Nia Jax was just in pain. She can be a little protective of us sometimes, so don't worry about it. They make up. They're fine. Nattie talks about Trinity, who was supposed to be on this trip, and she feels that Trinity's blowing them off. And that was the only mention we get of Naomi on this episode. I'm not sure where she is. We do see her in the preview for the Season 9 finale. So I guess we'll get an update on where she's been. I'm not really sure why she wasn't on this episode, but she was nowhere to be seen. And Nattie also brings up that she wants to see Liv Morgan in Money in the Bank, and which never ended up happening, and all these other fresh faces. She brings up Ember and Lacey and even Mandy. She brings up Mandy Rose as people that she wants to see step up as champion, and Sonia gets really offended. Sonia's like, listen, you're bringing up my partner, but not me, and you do this a lot where you bring up all these people that you want to see succeed, but you never praise me. And Nattie's like, well, I'm not here to give out compliments, blah, 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 blah. And it is kind of weird that Sonia would say something like that multiple times and Nattie would never bring her up. So I feel like it is kind of somewhat personal. I could see where both of them are coming from. But at the same time, it's like, Nattie, just give her a fucking compliment. Like, she is right there. You're mentioning her partner, but not her. Like, come on. That is kind of bullshit. So they go hula dancing. It's Nattie's idea. They do hula dancing. Sonia wants no part of it. She just walks off. She's like, this is dumb. You know that's stupid. Ariana's like, what are you doing? And Sonia's like, that's not something I would do. You know that, so I'm not going to do it. So she gets a little pissy, and she kind of creates a scene for no reason. Rousey's starting to get pissed because Travis's phone is going off, and she's like, listen, I just want Travis. All I want is Travis, and he's making it really hard for me to just, sit down and enjoy a conversation with him without his phone fucking going off. And Travis is like, listen, I'm adamant about being on standby for this wedding. This is all about them. It's not about us. We're here for the wedding. I'm going to make sure that it comes to fruition. And even Rousey admits, listen, I'm sorry I was being a bit selfish, and, you're always there, Travis, to put me in my place. And that was when the flowers get brought in, and this was all just a setup the entire time for Travis to surprise Rousey with flowers and set up this super romantic date, which was really nice of him to do. So Nattie brings up to the rest of the girls, which she probably shouldn't have done because Rousey said this to her in confidence. And maybe they already know and they're just playing for the cameras. But she brings up how WrestleMania was Ronda's last match and everyone's shocked. They're like, what the fuck? Like, that's crazy. But at the same time, they're like, the entire division's been built around her. Like, what does this mean for women's wrestling in WWE? And that was kind of the last that we hear of the Ronda Rousey situation on this episode. Maybe we get more explanation as to what the girls' reaction is, as to why they're so shocked and all this other stuff. Because they feel like she's retired. That's kind of how Nattie made it sound. So that's the last that we hear of the Ronda situation with them on this episode. Sonia just gets flat out hot at Nattie for doing the same thing, for not mentioning her again. And Nattie's probably at this point just doing it out of spite. And she gets really pissed at Nattie. And Sonia kind of interprets Nattie's words as that no one wants her Ariana there. No one wants Sonia or Ariana on the trip, and that Sonia should just leave. So Sonia's like, listen, I'm out of here. Me and Ariana, we're leaving. And Ariana's like, what's going on? Like, this is really weird. Stop acting all macho, insecure, blah, blah, blah. Sonia's really pissed. So Carmella smooths things over. Everything's fine with her. They get over it. And she's like, yeah, I probably just overreacted. And she's not exactly on good terms with Nattie for the rest of the trip, or at least as far as this episode is concerned. And they don't, make up or anything, but she does stay. They don't end up leaving. Meanwhile, the Vegas wedding ended up working out. So speaking of working out, the Vegas wedding ended up going exactly as planned. The hot air balloon thing ended up happening, and Ronda was really proud of Travis for doing the speaking during the wedding. And all I could think while watching this was how terrified I would be if I was on a fucking hot air balloon, much less for a wedding where you're all just kind of crammed and all together watching these two supposed to, finally tie the knot and get married. But it's like, at the same time, you're in a fucking hot air balloon. There's no guardrails or anything. I mean, there's the walls of the hot air balloon, but that's about it. I'm thinking, like, how terrified I would be I would be like, no thanks. I'm not getting married in a hot air balloon. I'm not being part of a wedding in a hot air balloon. No thanks. It's ground or not at all. That's just me. Maybe water, but even then it's a little sketchy in my opinion. So to close out the episode, we see Ariana agreeing to go surfing with Nattie, who pays for these surfing lessons, and no one wants to go surfing with her except for Liv. And then Ariana volunteers to go surfing, and Nattie's like, listen, she's mature, and that teaches me a lot about Ariana. She's a nice person. She's sweet, and I appreciate that she's, going off on this limb to spend time with me, even when Sonia doesn't. And that was when we hear that Liv Morgan had an accident. Now, we don't see the accident. This whole episode was revolving around Liv Morgan's surfing accident. We see 2 seconds of it. It's literally while the credits are rolling. They do this every fucking time where they build up the biggest part of the episode, and it's, no joke, 2 seconds of TV time. And we just hear Liv Morgan making an emergency call to Sonia that she has to go to the hospital. She has to get an ambulance sent to her, and that's it. I'm sure it's nothing major. But that's what we hear about at the end of this episode as a bit of a cliffhanger for the next episode, which isn't really much of a cliffhanger because, I mean, it's suspenseful, but at the same time, it's nothing that's going to be like the crux of the next episode of the show. I'm sure it'll be addressed for 2 seconds with Liv being fine. It's nothing major, and then they move on. So don't get your hopes up. But that was it for episode 9 of season 9 of Total Divas. Thank you guys, as always, for checking out my reviews. I appreciate it. The season 9 finale will be airing next Tuesday on the E! Network, and my review should be up on Friday per usual, so be sure to check that out. As always, be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Try to put up new videos every single day. I don't think there's any new network content going up this weekend. I might try to do another SmackDown review. Couldn't do it last week. I was busy. Didn't watch the show until much later. But I will try to get back to doing my SmackDown reviews here on the channel on Saturday, tomorrow. I'm recording this on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. But until next time, guys, have a great rest of your week. And I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.